Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much, much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.
Welcome back to Silverstone. The sun beautifully sets here as the pros will race into the evening here in the Hagerty Motorsports PCA Pro Series for Series 7. And they've already finished their qualifying, so at this stage, we are simply in the warm-up. DJ, this is the real stuff. This is where the best of the best come out to try and vie to show their dominance.
Exactly, Joe, and we have seen some great competition from across all of the classes here from the PCA, but this is the big boys. It is time to put the pros out on track. It is going to be some very exciting action out here, and I think we are going to see some fantastic driving from first all the way down through the order. Chris Pye's there with the googly eyes, giving us a great VR view.
Did you mean to rhyme? Was that intentional?
I did about halfway through the sentence. I realized I could pull it off.
Yeah, and I've watched Christopher Pye's race many a time before, so definitely familiar with him. Eager to see what he can do in this group. Looks like he's not taking himself all too seriously, at least in his sim rig. Glad we're getting a perspective of his in this race. As far as the qualifying goes, though, Lisner in the 92 has the pole position, but another one that I'm familiar with is Leif Peterson. I've watched him race many, many times. So as we take a look at the onboard of Charles Yao, who's got one of the more unique things on here, Rachel. This is getting into serious race sim geekery, a wind simulator.
Yeah, I gotta say, that's a new one for me. I mean, I can understand wanting to feel like you're racing a car, but the last time I checked, Porsches usually come standard with a windshield. However, it could be the VR headset because they can be a little irritating at times in terms of weight. I have one myself. They can really feel claustrophobic and you can really heat up and your face will get very hot. So chances are it's not for some sort of warped missing windshield Porsche realism. I think he just wants to stay cool.
Maybe he's used to a sort of NASCAR type situation with a window net or something as we watch his perspective, Schum's VR.
I think maybe this could be a bit of a stretch, of course, but I think maybe he drove under a really low bridge once and his Porsche hasn't had a windshield since, or a roof. No, wait, it's a Porsche, not a roof. Never mind.
That doesn't sound factory standard to me, as we've got what looks like a Hot Wheels themed paint scheme, which means a lot to me. I was the sort of kid that made up his own races with Hot Wheels on chalk tracks outside, with as many of the stock car versions of them as I could find. So definitely going to have a bit of a bias here for this one, who unfortunately isn't showing us his number tonight, it seems.
And not necessarily seeing that, but Joe, as we're seeing here on these drivers setting times, we talked about the level of competition. Well, if you want to know how close it is, P1 to P15 separated by only a second. This is going to get crazy out here.
And this takes us to our sponsor here for the next one, and that, of course, is appropriately Porsche. Porsche is more than a sports car. It's a way of life for all of us, and we appreciate their support of PCA Sim Racing as the Pro Class sponsor. With a recent sub-7-minute lap at the Nurburgring in the GT3 and the arrival of the all-new 992 GT3 Cup car to the U.S., Porsche's dedication to motorsports is stronger than ever. Find more about Porsche at Porsche.com. Excited to watch this one. I love seeing the other drivers, but this is really what we've been waiting for, including the grid as Jason Lisner starts on the pole. Leif Peterson will flank him. Justin Sang will start from third as Christopher Pies will be P4. Then you've got the car of Chris Walsh in fifth. James Huth, who a lot of drivers have mentioned they fear him, will start from sixth. Jacob Schum is seventh. Albano eighth. Craig in ninth, and Brown starts in 10th.
In 11th, it's going to be Matthew Seidel, followed by James Patak, with Jonathan Waltman in 13th and Jordan Dyer in 14th. 15th will be Julian Velez, followed by Matthew Kukas, with Rick Reisenberg and Derwin Kostanak in 18th. Robert Rose, 19th, and Greg Carr will be 20th.
Rodney Campbell starts P21, followed by Talkie in the 22nd position. Inside the next row is Charles Yao with Joe Sinclair starting at 24th. Joe Stiffel will be in 25th as Fullwood starts 26th, Leno 27th, and then it is Dave Schwartz, Dewey Kang, Fonseca, and Ruzides rounding out our 31-car field. A little bit smaller than what we saw in Club, and appropriately up at the front, it is that classic Gulf livery that Lisner is going to use to lead the way. How dark is it going to get out there today? We'll have to wait and see, because you can see the sun just about below the horizon and the lights are on the cars. So it is going to get a bit spooky appropriate now that we've headed into October today. Here on Podium Esports, we're getting ready to watch the green at Silverstone. Lisner waits for it, and the green is out. Not the greatest of starts. Peterson still to his outside. We might have a 3 wide, is looking in the middle. Christopher Pies is feeling ambitious down into Club. He brakes early, and that's going to check up everybody behind him as they fly through the first turn. So far, so good. I'm watching to see if there are any incidents, and I think we're clean.
I don't know how they got through there nice and cleanly, Joe, but they sure did. Leif Peterson muscling his way and to hold on to that second place. Justin Sang going forward as well. We ride on board with Chris Walsh right now. He has clearly in his sights up ahead Chris Pies trying to keep in on the back of that 14 machine.
You can see the headlights just blaring in that screen, looking in reverse. Pies under threat as Walsh tries to poke his nose down into Stowe. He'll get side by side here on the first lap of the race. Fights back down into Vale. Inside going to return to Christopher Pies. And as he brakes hard, he just can't barely keep ahead. No, he will, as it's too hard, too deep for Walsh.
Absolutely incredible move there from Pies to be able to hold that out. We ride on board with Jacob Schub behind him, seeing if maybe he can pick up the scraps as this fight continues. That's going to be Walsh thinking about making a look down to the inside there of Abbey, but not enough to do it there. Up front, you can see that continues to be the 92 leading. Leif Peterson trying to close in.
Chris has lost some time from this. Him having to battle has put him behind the 8 ball, and he's now 1.3 seconds behind our podium as you see those top 3 stretching away. Lisner, Peterson, Sang already up ahead.
Indeed, they have Chris Walsh here. Eyes of steel there, just focused in on what he needs to do up ahead of him as they come out of Luffield for the first time. Looks like that gap between him and Chris Pies separating out a little bit. That'll give Christopher Pies a little bit of breathing room as they go into Cops for the second time.
So someone poking out there in the background, but looks like most everybody is single file at this stage, looking for those good opportunities. As 4th place, now getting himself a tiny bit of a gap ahead of Chris Walsh. Must have had a bad exit off of Chapel last time and maybe cost him a little bit. We now check out P14 with Kukas.
Yeah, Kukas here trying to close in on James Patak ahead of him. Do not exactly able to get the best run there out of Chapel that he would prefer. Everybody's separating out here. Got a little bit of a battle shaping up there, though. That is Chris Brown and David Craig.
Brown around the outside, or excuse me, yes, Brown around the outside, and Craig on the inside. which switches back to him having the outside. I think he's going to give up the ghost on that one. Behind them, Albano also overtaking Whitman, almost made contact just as we came on board here.
Yeah, certainly did. He just carried a lot of speed into there and had to be a little bit careful not to get fully into the back of that 131 of Albano. Now they go down into Abbey. Nobody being very aggressive into that corner. We haven't seen a lot of overtaking in the previous 3 series that we've covered there, Joe.
Down into Bridge. They all start to settle in now after quite a bit of a melee between them here early on. We jump back again to Jordan Dyer this time.
Yeah, Dyer here running in 17th. Whoa, 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 almost into the back of that 33 of Julian Velez. Trying to get a little bit of a wider line there coming through Luffield. I don't know if it's going to work for him, and indeed loses back a little bit as both cars get onto the power.
Back up to Huth, whose name has come up plentiful on the lips of other drivers. It looks like Schum touches the grass slightly. He goes defensive into Maggots and Beckett's. I don't think Huth is willing to risk it there at this stage.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And I mean, with 40 minutes left to go in this race, we heard some of the drivers in the last series talking about how it's an early part of the race. You don't want to attack too hard too early. Jumping back here to P5 with Chris Walsh. Chris Pye's really pulling a big gap on him here.
Oh, we had a problem with Dave Schwartz. Our first real incident out there today. The 29's trying to get back on track. This was in Maggots and Beckett's. I think he spun on his own.
I think that's right. A little bit of a battle starting to heat up here for P2. Justin Sang looking on Leif Peterson, the 913 up ahead of him, the Golden Gate region driver, trying to find any little opportunity that he can.
Yeah, he's enjoying the distance that he's been able to get over Christopher Pye's, because that has not gone down. In fact, it's up another 0.2 since the start. This is one of the biggest trains that we've got in the field right now, being led by Craig in the 996. Looks like almost 6 or 7 cars all involved in this.
Yeah, nobody really able to get a whole lot of anything. We ride on board with the caboose of the train. Matthew Kukas says that's contact between Kukas and Patak up ahead of him, and that's going to send Kukas offline a little bit, able to hold off a little bit of an attack behind from Derwin Kostanak, but now they're going to go back into single file. Kukas running very wide on the exit of Luffield. This could be attack mode for the 190.
Derwin's got the speed. He's got the inside. Little bit of a move there from Kukas, but he can't cover now because there's a car there. Oh, and he spins immediately on his way into the corner. I don't know if that was damage or what, but that was unusual for the 15. Another car spinning by him as Rudzidis also spins in sympathy.
Just a little bit of synchronized spinning there, but we've got to check back in on the battle for the lead. As you said, Joe, Sang able to pull away from the back of Chris Pye's, but Jason Lissner not able to pull away from Leif Peterson or Justin Sang. All 3 of these drivers very close together.
Also, Albano spun as well on his own and fallen back to 28th. We continue to watch this battle on screen. Let's go to Rachel. Rachel, I see the weather is getting very, very cool. Is this kind of the reverse of what we saw earlier this week?
I think it might be, yeah. We're seeing it drop down, but as the sun's setting, that is what will naturally happen here at Silverstone. Obviously, typically, I don't know about other racetracks, but at this particular track, as it starts to get dark, it starts to get colder.
So I wonder if the driver's struggling to keep those tires into the working range out here. And as we continue to watch, saw that air blower working. I could see the fans spinning there with our little onboard perspective. Down into Bridge and Priory once again for our mid-pack, but up at the front of it is still second place Leif Peterson, where I believe Taylor has some information on him.
Well, it's Leif Peterson. He is the Series 5 champion, a long-time sim racer. Has been sim racing since the 90s. Always find him racing in a Porsche. Mr. Consistency, as we would like to call him, because he's so consistent with his finishes. That's why he was able to clinch the Series 5 championship in the Pro class. And as he hunts down the race leader right now of Jason Lisner, the Maverick region driver from Texas, is looking to try to see if he can score his second championship in 3 seasons.
There we see from Chris Walsh's cockpit, he's fallen off the back of Christopher Pies now. So Chris can finally focus forward a little bit. And I think that is helping him because he's got it down to 1 second up to Justin Sang now. There we see the VR set of Chris Pies as well.
Yeah, Chris, and I love, yes, the googly eyes are a good joke here from Chris, but I do genuinely love the fact that with the VR set, you can really see the eyes focusing around, looking where the driver is looking. It shows you that full heads-up immersion that you really need to have. You can see him start to spot the apex here into Abbey. Look how early he's looking to that apex.
And look up ahead as well. Peterson is starting to apply incredible pressure to Jason. The 92 has only been about 0.3, sometimes 0.2 of a second ahead of Leaf. So any little slip up and he could hand this over immediately.
Yeah, he very much could as we ride on board here with the 18 machine. This is exactly that kind of mental pressure you and I always talk about, Joe, just how much you've got to keep in the brain and the rear view mirror of the drivers you're competing against.
Yeah, and Justin Sang, who hasn't been sim racing for that long, Taylor, is certainly holding his own.
He certainly is. In fact, this is his second year on iRacing alone for the Golden Gate Region PCA member for Justin Sang. One of the things, though, he's ran a couple of PCA events during the summer months, so this is his second go-about with the PCA, but his first time running up towards the top-tier classes of the Pro Series. And, of course, his all-time favorite Porsche is, of course, the Porsche Cayman GT4 cars that we ran in previous seasons here in the PCA competition.
We might lose the sun completely here in a moment. You're getting a little orange up in the sky, and that makes me wonder, Rachel. I have seen some footage of cars racing at night here, but how often do they actually race here at Silverstone in the dark?
Surprisingly often, actually. Quite a number of events do happen in the dark and in the evenings and winter months at Silverstone, so it is actually a lot more common than you'd think, of course. It's definitely cars equipped with headlights. You tend to struggle with your stock cars, and actually British stock car truck racing does come here, but it's very much during the day.
As we come back to Siddall, is mighty deep on the brakes, looking for 10th place, stuck in a train of 4. Craig leads the beginning of the group there in the 996. Waltman is the one directly ahead, a poke to the inside from Kostanak, who thought about trying something into Priory. Nothing doing.
Yeah, Siddall looking very, very brave on the brakes, but I have to say, it looks like it's costing him time and time again. Kostanak just able to get some good attacks when he gets off the corner. He may be able to get a good lunge on entry, but for Siddall, it's hurting him on the exit of those corners.
Down into Cops one more time. Kostanak's really stalking him. Look how close he is in the rear view camera. He has got that within 1/10 of a second, runs out of racetrack. Whoa, and he bobbles. Big moment for Kostanak as he cuts across the grass.
Indeed, but able to keep it together here. He's going to really have to check up, though, before he gets to Chapel. That's going to cost him some big time down the hanger straight. Let's check out this catch on replay, Joe.
I think he got a little unsighted. We were just commenting on how close he was, and well, that rear spoiler must have cut a little too much vision out for him.
Yeah, I think it did. There you see the dive in. What about able to hold on to it there? That is how you control a Porsche.
Was that Yiddish?
It's an ancient Burmese dialect, actually.
Just to jump in here, I am Jewish, and I'm pretty sure he just said something about a goat.
As we now watch Lee Peterson back to the front, and listener in the 92 just can't make any wrong step today. It continues to run at about 0.3 of a second. Sang looking like he might be falling back ever so slightly. We watch from the perspective of the 5th place car, Chris Walsh.
Yeah, Walsh there, a little bit of correction on the exit of Love Field as he continues to try to close in behind Chris Pies, just not seeming like he's able to get it. closed in as much as he would like to. Pies, though, looks like he is closing into Sang. Looking at the lap times there, Joe, Sang is running a little bit slower here. He ran a 46.4 last time out. Peterson and Lisner ahead ran a 46.0 and a 46.2 respectively. Pies, 46.1.
The best of the best in the PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty. Love these perspectives and love what the cameras are getting with those clouds just hitting the sun on the horizon. And that Gulf livery car has led every lap so far. We can't forget that pit stops will happen at some point as well, DJ. And you got to wonder, with Leif Peterson's endurance experience that I've seen him have, is he setting him up?
He very well could be if he is that close behind. We've heard some of the drivers talk about how there is not really enough aero wash or draft to make too much of a difference. But if you're that close to another car, you will be able to lift and coast a little bit and be able to save a little bit of fuel. So he could be trying to set up for a bit of an overcut here.
We mentioned earlier that Halloween coming up now that we're in October. Did they do trunk or treat over there at Silverstone, Rachel? Is that a thing over in England?
You know, I've never heard of trunk or treat. It must be some sort of car thing I've just never come across. But you mentioned Halloween. Maybe there's a spooky story here at Silverstone. In fact, a ghost story, if you will. In fact, if you go down to Cops Corner at a certain time of night, there's a ghost hair on the track. You'll see it run out across the tarmac, lit by the moonlight, and then it just goes splat. It was actually not a ghost at all, but it was hit by Reg Parnell's car in the 1950 British Grand Prix. Sorry, I set you up there with the ghost story, but no. Reg Parnell was the only driver at Silverstone to hit an animal, and it was a hare that decided to try and cross the track. Although then again in 2003 we had a Scotsman sprint out onto the racetrack in a kilt with a billboard. So plenty of things end up on the track at Silverstone. but
did he hit the Scotsmans as well?
No, everyone dodged the Scotsman, thankfully. Many drivers had to swerve, but they did dodge the Scotsman. Now, this track has so much phenomenal history, of course. It's been the home of British Motorsport since 1987. Of course, it's been a phenomenal track before that, but it's been our official home since then. And it's also the home of Ferrari's first ever win in Formula One in the 1951 British Grand Prix. And Jackie Stewart, also a major British driver, in fact, Scottish driver. Let's link back to our Scottish comment there. He won in 1969 by lapping every single car in the field. That is crazy.
That sounds like a very Jackie Stewart thing to do, known for how smooth he was out there. Probably just never looked back as we keep watching this battle up at the front. Oh, we've had an incident. Looks like Kostanak and I think Waltman as well. These are some of our drivers that were vying for a top 10 into the Abbey chicane.
Indeed, it was, Joe. We're going to check out this replay. This is that train that we were following very, very closely. Remember, I was talking about some of the late maneuvers. There you can see the slicing and dicing going down now into Abbey. Here it comes. Just a late maneuver. Oh, carried a little bit too much speed there, did Jonathan Waltman, and that's what sent that whole train into the back of him.
That makes me wonder if we're going to see a black flag happen here. I'm sure the stewards will have a look at it as they'll get all the angles in, but they'll report into us later as we watch. Leif Peterson has dropped back the farthest we've seen him perhaps all race, 0.7 of a second behind Lisner.
Yeah, just looking like he's losing a hair of time there. And now that may be a little bit of strategy. Remember, if you're really pushing hard on these tires, they will overheat. These GT3 tires are made to last a while. They are made to last multiple stints longer than what we're seeing these drivers out on track for today, but they are very susceptible to overheating. And so you've got to be careful about that. And that may be what Peterson's doing here.
I'm hearing some of the drivers mention over the radio that the night transition doesn't work very well for them. I mean, we haven't mentioned it yet. The darkness does affect the visibility. Yes, they have their headlights out there, but you lose at least some of your reference points as it starts to go completely dark.
Very much so, and it's one of the things that you have to be careful of as a driver in the sim in particular. Sometimes you get used to braking on shadows because of the fixed states that you can run in. But one of the things that iRacing does quite well is having this variable time, you lose those shadow points. You lose those markers around the track. And as you said, with these headlights, they do a good job of illuminating a good chunk of the road in front of you, but not your periphery. So you really just have to know this track like the back of your hand.
Just saw a note that Derwin Kostanek has been black flags. Unfortunately, it looks like someone did get a little waggle of the finger there today here in the pros, but that's the first I think we've seen all day, if I'm seeing correctly.
I believe that's right, Joe. It's been some pretty clean racing out here today with everybody. Good, tight battles, but clean across the entire field. As we follow on board here with Julian Velez as he is trying to chase down Brant Talkie in front of him. Whoa, a little bit of an overspeed there coming through Maggots. He can control this through Chapel here. That's a little bit of a wide run there for Talkie ahead of him. I think Velez may have a little something.
Yep, let's stick with this. Let's see if a battle starts to erupt. Talkie could find himself with a little bit of a slip up deep on the brakes. The yellow number 33 nearly hits the bumper of the 6, and he backs out of it, loses time because of that.
Yeah, he does. Whoa! That was a very, very late move being thrown in the back by Rick Reisenberg. Not sure if that was a missed braking point or going for an overtake in the front brakes, just locking up on him.
The Californian gets it back on track, but falls to 19th because of that, and we return to Leif Peterson. Ooh, and Justin Sang has dropped away from him. If you look on the left-hand side of your screen, when it cycles back, he's up to 1.6 seconds now.
Yeah, he is. So definitely losing some time there. Not exactly what I'd expect. Justin Sang very much falling into the clutches of Chris Pies as well.
Well, as we get close to the halfway mark, it's time to bring you the Midway Race Report, brought to you by Porsche. Porsche is more than a sports car. It's a way of life for all of us, and we appreciate their support of PCA Sim Racing as the Pro Class sponsor. With a recent sub-7-minute lap at the Nurburgring in the GT3 and the arrival of the all-new 992 GT3 Cup car to the U.S., Porsche's dedication to motorsports is stronger than ever. Find more about Porsche at Porsche.com. Rachel?
Thank you very much. Yes, we have got that coming up now. In fact, out front, at the moment, we do have Jason Lissner. Started on pole just like last race and is still leading that 92 car from the first settlers region of zone number 2. Second place we have Leif Peterson from Maverick region, a Texas driver here. Mr. Consistency, we said, the 913 from zone number 5. Also exactly where he started. Coming up in third is Justin Sang from the Golden Gate region, a San Francisco guy. Zone number 7. Started third. Currently running third. And just to keep that trend going, we've got Mr. Googly Eyes himself, Chris Pies, the Lone Star region, another Texas driver here. The 14 car also started fourth, running fourth. I'm sensing a theme here. P5 is Chris Walsh from the Carolinas region. He is in the 104 machine, the Carolinas region driver, zone number 3. Started fifth, running fifth. No gains or losses yet so far. In fact, the same goes for James Huth in P6 here, the Hudson Champlain region as zone number 1. The 12 car is putting some good laps in, starting 6th, running 6th. P7 is Jacob Schum, 7th place to 7th place again. what a stretch here we're getting. The Carolinas region driver of zone number 3 now, 56 car. Getting a great review on board from him and his VR setup. P number 8 right now is going to be Chris Braun. There in the Martini livery. We're doing one of those about now. Northeast region driver of zone number 1 in the 258 machine is our first actual mover here, up 2 spots from 10th. Behind that we have Dave Craig in the 996 in 9th place, the Keystone region driver from zone number 2. Started 9th, running 9th. 10th place is going to be Matthew Siddle, the Lone Star region, and the Texan in the 55 there. Zone number 5. Up 1 from 11th. Jonathan Dyer, the Schlonsand region, zone number 10 in that 21 car, up 3 spots from 14th so far. And another busy livery. In fact, I think that's something anime related. Although I don't know my chopsticks. So yeah, probably. Joseph up from 25th to 12th. 13 places gained. One of the biggest moves in the pro class here. And yeah, the Tiger King livery on that car is... I have to keep trying to not call him Stifler, which is a whole different topic for the day. 13th is James Tack, the Peach State region driver of zone number 3. Is down 1 from 12th place on the grid. The 721 car is trying to get this thing done. That Hagerty sponsorship looking great. 14th is Grant Torquay, who's busy on the real racetracks as well right now. We'll talk more about him later, but the Suncoast Florida region driver from zone number 12 in that 6 machine is looking green, mean, and out for speed, up from 22nd to 14th. 15th place is Justin Velez, who's starting 15th, running 15th in that 33 machine, the Northern New Jersey region driver, putting it on. Taylor?
Moving on down to P16 is the Central New York region driver of Greg Carr in that Simplicity paint scheme, car number 28, having a strong run after starting 20th. Next up in 17th, he's gained 10 spots. He's definitely partying like it's Mardi Gras after starting 27th, is Jean-Paul Leno from the Mardi Gras region, who is definitely working his way up through the field in 17th. Next up is a former champion, Robert Rose, from the club class, who has worked his way up through the field after starting in the 19th spot from the Shenandoah region. Here he comes through the field in the 443 in that beautiful green and white Porsche. In the 19th spot is Rodney Campbell from the Wild Rose region in the Lagos car. As he works his way up to the field, pretty much Porsche and Lego have done phenomenal work together in the past with the Lego Technic, so it's great to see some representation of the old-fashioned Legos out on the track with Rodney Campbell. In 21st position in a very colorful car from the Metropolitan region is Dewey Kane, an avid Porsche collector of a lot of memorabilia. In fact, I had the pleasure of talking with him at the Rolex 24, and he had to get that Coca-Cola-inspired Porsche 911 RSR-inspired GTE car. 22nd is Greg Fullwood from the Delaware region, and he's working his way up through the field after starting 26th. And as we take a look at his paint scheme, he has also the new Porsche 911 GT3 Cup Car paint scheme on his 911 GT3R as he works his way through the field. There's Matthew Kikis from the Carolinas region in his yellow and black Porsche. After running currently in 20th, he's going to see if he can work his way up through the field later on and try to get a little higher up for him as we go back to P28 of Gabriel Albano from the Gold Coast region in the another Porsche famous livery that we see back in the 70s as he works his way up through the field. As pit stops are now going through, Alberto Fonseca is now running 24th position from the Pacific Northwest region in car number 44. 21st position, of course, is Dave Schwartz from the Golden Gate region as he's working his way through in another beautiful Porsche-inspired car, something we've seen mostly in the 90s with the GT1 era. 26 is Charles Yao from the Finger Lakes region. There you see him on board with the VR headset, another VR headset driver for the night's event, but no googly eyes, so he loses some bonus points on that matter. 25th is Liam Razitis from the Upper Canada region, a longtime competitor in the PCA. And we'll see what he can do later on in his blue 05. 29th is Joe Sinclair in the Upper Canada region from Zone 1, looking to see if he can improve his position after starting 24th. Rounding out your top 30, 31st is Jonathan Waltman from the Santa Barbara region. After some pit stop cycles, he is currently 1 lap down after the pit stop cycles. Derwin Kozenek served a penalty early on. He runs in 30th.
This concludes tonight's Midway Race Report, brought to you by Porsche. Big thank you to them for helping make this one happen. We've had a few pit stops in the mid to the back pack, but I see Dave Craig in the 996. I think he's our first front runner to blink.
He is indeed, Joe. Rodney Campbell also following him in behind. Craig there waiting for that fuel to come into the car. We're going to jump back here up to Chris Walsh because we've talked about how there was a little bit of an ebb to that gap to Chris Pies ahead of him. Well, Walsh has been able to close it back in to the tune of about a half a second as they break down into Vale and Club. Walsh running a good race here, just keeping his head down and trying to close in on that fourth place ahead of him.
Certainly is. Lisner, though, is the one that is enjoying this latest stint because the 92 with a second and a half over Peterson has finally been able to break away. There you see the distance between them on your screen. But the good news for Peterson is that Sang has not been able to close down. It seems like as the race goes on, they start to spread apart. The pace, the only one that is able to keep the pace up, rather, is Jason Lisner, and the other two just kind of steadily dropping off.
Yeah, Lisner able to run his own race to the tune of his own drum. This is Jacob Schum, though, back in 7th. Also another driver doing a little bit of running a race of his own. He's got some good gaps on either side of him, but we've got pitters up front. Leif Peterson, Justin Sang, Chris Walsh, and Chris Pies and James Huth all diving down pit lane.
Okay, so will anybody have an unusual stop here? Lisner, the only one, basically, of the front group not pitting. And we're down to 16 minutes left to go, so this might be him just saving enough fuel compared to those around him, which is impressive considering how quick he was going. And Peterson looks like a decent stop for the 13 seconds. Sang quicker, though, gained a little bit of time, just under 13 seconds, and back out onto the track. Everybody behind following suit, going late. We'll catch up with Lisner in a bit, but in the meantime, let's head to Taylor, who's got today's trivia question.
It's the final trivia question of the week as we celebrate Silverstone and all things Porsche. We're going to round it out to the final question here, which is, out of the long tenure of sports car racing with Porsche at Silverstone, we're going to ask how many overall victories that Porsche has collected in the World Sports Car Series Championships throughout the decade. We're looking just for the total number of overall victories, not class, but overall victories since the inception of this event in 1976. So we'll look forward to see what you guys can come up with here in the closing minutes.
Is it 911?
No, unfortunately, no, it's not that many. Close, though. Close. Go a little lower, though.
All right, we're watching Christopher Pies here as he is caught up with, or no, Walsh is caught with Pies, rather. So, and this was Walsh. Did he lose his spot in the pit stops? He was 2 seconds slower.
Yeah, he was. Not entirely sure how that happened, Joe, but we are getting some reports that Chris Pies is having an issue or two with his headset. We're not entirely sure what it is, but he's at least able to keep online here, trying to creep Walsh behind him. There you can see the picture-in-picture with Chris Walsh eyeing his way through that corner of Luffield. Let's see if he is able to get a better line here. Looks like Pies is able to get it down for now. There's the view out the back of that number 14 machine.
I hope he's not having the same problem that one of the Finns had in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series some months ago. One of the drivers told us he wound up wrecking because his VR headset got so hot, sweat was getting in his eyes, and it burned. And, well, you do the math. Lisner back out after his pit stop, and it was slow. Well, no, it doesn't look like it was a slow stop. Somehow Peterson made up time. It is now down to half a second. He cut away a full 1 second in that pit stop sequence.
Joe, I'm looking at the numbers right here. I think Peterson, for whatever reason, was faster through pit lane. It looks like he was able to just get about a half a second on that. Their pit stop's only 3/10 of a second apart, so maybe just a little bit better of an in and out lap.
I wonder if Jason just wasn't as aggressive down into his stall or what. Regardless, the results is that the race is once again on, but the competition is over for the trivia already, it sounds like, Taylor. May have lost Taylor once again. We'll have him hit his headset a little bit, see if he can get it working a little bit here as we watch P1 and P2 nose to tail now after 18 laps and only 12 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, and this is Peterson that we ride on the hood with right now. Now, he is going to be close enough to try to keep that pressure on. Mr. Consistent himself, the Maverick Region driver, as they work their way through Copse. Pretty close there, trying to get it. Trying to go as hard as he can down into Maggots and Beckett's. Ooh, that looked like a little bit of a wiggle there for Lisner up ahead of him, but I think it helped him, if anything else, to gain a couple of tenths on Leif Peterson.
I think we finally shook the headset enough and it's working again. Taylor, what you got?
We certainly do have a winner, but once again, Jonathan Schum got the correct answer of 8 overall wins for Porsche at Silverstone, 1977, 1978, 1979, followed by an 81, 83, 84, and 85. The last victory for Porsche overall, 2016, with the Porsche 919 Hybrid, which you can drive here on iRacing.
Ah, there you go. So you can recreate that win yourself if you feel ambitious. So Christopher Pies, he's now, oh my goodness, down to 5 seconds behind Justin Sang. And Chris Walsh continues to fill his mirrors as they head towards the Abbey chicane. Just got to stay with it for a few more minutes. Walsh would certainly love to snatch up that P4, though.
Yeah, indeed he would, and he's going to keep trying to apply that pressure, trying to go as hard as they can, going down through Priory now, ready to break. Whoa! Very late on the brakes there was Chris Walsh, but that cost him on the exit. Now they come into Luffield, a little bit of a wider line. That's Walsh trying to diamond off the corner a little bit more. I'm going to call that an even match on either part.
Yeah, same here. I don't think he's going to catch him down into Copse this time. We'll have to set him up later. So the pit stop's done. Drivers really got to work on it. And Walsh has a big problem coming out of Copse. Kicks up a lot of dirt on his way exiting the corner. But thankfully doesn't lose too much time. And doesn't look terribly happy. Look at the expression on his face. Just didn't like that he did that after he got so close.
Yeah, and that can be really, really frustrating for a driver. 35 minutes just following in the tire tracks like that, to throw it away with a little bit of a mistake like that. Absolutely tough for Chris Walsh, but he's still got about 10 minutes here to try to close back in. Going to jump back to a little bit of a battle for P12, though, Joe.
They say throw it away. I haven't heard any plus-size women singing yet, so I don't think this is over. And we watch down the Hanger Straight. Now we're really seeing the darkness plunge over these drivers. And it's going to get tougher and tougher to see what you're doing. And on top of that, to be able to tell who's behind you. I guess the F3 box at least helps with that.
Yeah, it does indeed, and it's not like a multi-class racing where you can kind of tell some discrepancy based off of the headlights. Obviously, all of these Porsches out here running. Jumping back to the battle for P1, though, Leif Peterson continuing to apply that pressure to Jason Lisner. I guarantee you, Leif knows that we're getting down into the closing stages of this race, so do not be surprised if that 913 gets a move on here.
So we hop on board with Dyer. Just into the top 10 and getting very close to the rear bumper of Craig. Craig exactly where he started this race, but Dyer's up 4. He'd like to make that 5. Ooh, could he have a shot? Is he willing to try it into Copse corner? We hop on board with Craig. All he can see is just one of the headlights on that car, but Jordan is not willing to put himself into dire straits. He's going to back out of it.
No, I think he's going to have to pull out of that a little bit. Clearly, Dyer a little bit more of the police fan, but as they make their way through Maggots and Beckett's now, he's going to have to try to find what he can do. Looks like he's got a little bit of a better run there through Beckett's. If you can keep the pressure on through Chapel, this may be a move through the Hanger Straight, Joe.
I think it is. Jordan Dyer sizing him up. This time he's got a better opportunity, little less dangerous if he can get side by side. Defensive from Dave down to the inside, forcing him to go around, drifts out a little bit, and Dyer has to back out.
That's some very good defensive driving there from Dave Craig. Not really doing anything to put the car out of line, just positioning it in the middle of the track in a relatively non-aggressive way. I absolutely love it. Checking back to the battle here for P1. And this Leif Peterson trying to still close in on Jason Lissner ahead of him. They break down into Brooklands. He's taking a more narrow line through that corner. Then Jason is ahead of him. Is it going to pay off here coming through Luffield?
Oh, Jordan Dyer managed to get side by side, and I think he's got the spot. Yes, he has managed to overtake Craig. Oh, cuts him off through bridge. He had just enough space. Dave got out of it. Great stuff from the 21.
Great stuff all the way around. And Joe, we've got another little battle starting to chase up. There it is. Chris Walsh has got James Huth all up his gearbox right now.
Here we go. This is it. We've only got 6 minutes left, so if they're going to make a move, now is the time to do it. Walsh is no slouch. 4.5 KI rating out there in that 104 machine. And he pulls away through the Maggots and Beckett sequence, keeps himself at less risk, at least for the time being. Pye's still in front of him, but he's started to lose touch. I wonder if he's gotten distracted with those headlights filling up his mirrors.
Well, we saw what that can look like with Dyer, just that big one headlight kind of distracting you a little bit. The glare, if you are in a good rig, it could have cost him a little bit of time. You get that fixation behind you. That's even more terrifying. Just the two headlights coming up behind you like a big shark stalking its prey.
Is there blood in the water? Or is unfortunately someone going to have shark fin soup tonight as we come out of club? I think we're only going to have roughly 4 to 5 laps to go next time across the line. I'm keeping half an eye on those leaders because it is about 6 to 7 tenths of a second. So Peterson hasn't been threatening, but he's been keeping them honest.
Yeah, it really has. Ooh, good little battle here shaping up for P15. This is Robert Rose on Grant Talkie. And unless I'm greatly mistaken, that may be Rodney Campbell starting to close up behind as well.
Yep, here in the mid-pack, Rodney Campbell stuck just behind Rose, who is sandwiched between Campbell and Talkie. So the 6 who started this race in 15th, or excuse me, in 22nd rather, up to 15th, trying to keep from losing some of those spots later on in the day.
Yeah, trying to hold on the best that he can, but Campbell looking like there's a pretty good run there as they come down through Brooklands. Are they going to get anything doing? Multiple lines. That's a very, very wide line there from Talkie, but it's able to get him some good momentum coming off the edge. Here we go back to Chris Pye's. Pye's has lost a little bit of time to Walsh behind him there, and you can see that headlight coming up behind.
It sounds like Rachel's been hanging around Grant's crew having a talkie herself. What's up?
I've been definitely having a talkie with Talkie. We found out actually, congratulations in order, he just got his 992 allocation and signed up for his IMSA license, so congratulations there. And this comes right off the heels of his victory in the Porsche Sprint Challenge Championship this year, so this man is flying. Actually,
love that.
I have more information on that though, sorry.
Okay.
Apparently, all he has to do is start at Indy and he has the championship locked, so this guy is on top of things IRL right now.
Unbelievable stuff. It's a little look to the inside. Yeah, I didn't think that was a serious move there from the back of the train. I wonder if we should jump forward, though, to here. Yes, we should, because there's Pye's, Walsh, and Huth, who we're riding on board with.
Yeah, what was a 2-car battle and then switched back to a different 2-car battle has now become a 3-car battle. Pye's leading Walsh, leading Huth as we close in on the final stages of this race. This is just seesawing back and forth. I'm loving this action between the drivers here for 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Chris with a magnificent exit there out. Oh, Chris has had a problem. He's off the course. What in the world happened in Woodcut? He just speared off and went into the barrier.
I have no idea there, Joe. That may have been some sort of hardware problem, as we had been talking about some issues with him on VR. There you see not a whole lot of change from his eyes as he continues to drive along here, but able to at least get that car back and underway.
It looks like he's gotten away without too much damage. He fell to 6th. Walsh gets promoted to 4th. Huth to a top 5. Man, he only had to make 3 more minutes. That has got to be gut-wrenching.
We are getting confirmation that it was his headset acting up again, so a little bit of a hardware malfunction there for Chris Pies.
Oh, so as we watch now with Leif Peterson, who thankfully hasn't been having the same issues, still within 0.6 of a second with Lisner. What a stalemate this has been between two quick drivers. Leif fell off briefly, fought back in the pit stops, had a quicker stop down the lane, and is now within the hunt. But we haven't really seen him make an attack all race long. It really makes me question, does he actually have anything for him, DJ, or is this the max that he's got?
Well, I don't know. It's a little bit hard to tell with a driver like Leif Peterson, who is just so consistent, that you often see them hold back until the final part of the race. They're going to cross the line here. Let's see what the timestamp is. Okay, I think this is going to be about 2 laps to go for our leaders. So if they are able to do it, if Peterson is able to do it, now is the time. But we jump back here for that battle for 15th, Taki, Campbell, and Rose.
Love seeing these battles all the way to the end. And as I look to the inside, an ambitious look there into Brooklands. Doesn't quite pan out from the 82, from the 62 rather. And I think Pies is damaged. Pies is very damaged. She's at a stop. What happened to the 14?
I think, Joe, he may be having some more hardware issues. He stopped almost in the middle of the track going into Maggots and Beckett's.
He's got his headset working, I think. He's rolling now. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, there was no damage to the car at all. That was just a stop for safety, I think, from Chris Pies. Finds himself now all the way down in 13th after such a fantastic race. Yeah, you can see the frustration on his face there.
That would be supremely upsetting. One thing we can't forget about here in these last 30 seconds before we get the checkered flag is Rachel. We've had, actually, I might not be able to go to Rachel here. We might get the checkered flag right here. It's going to be tight. 16 seconds left on the clock, and Lisner's just coming around Luffield. Is this going to be the final lap of the race? 7 seconds left on the clock. I think he'll just get across in time. Yes, 1 lap to go. Now we've got time. Apologies, Rachel. They started practice today when it was about 5 in the afternoon.
Yeah, this would have really thrown them off. The shift in lighting has been a big one for these guys, and it's definitely made it dramatic for us, but a real difficult one for these guys. I'm not sure they were prepared to race at night.
Certainly not. And the change in weather conditions, too, probably got used to the car's handling with the sun bearing down on the track, and now it's so much cooler here. But these two seem to have adapted supremely well. Jason Lisner and Leif Peterson leading the field and have been the entire race. 1-2. We haven't seen that change since the beginning. In fact, the only change that we've had in the top 5 has been for 4th and 5th. Walsh and Huth promoted only because of a technical error for poor Chris Pies.
Indeed, Joe, as now we watch here Lisner coming around club for the last time. It's now or never time for Peterson, but I've got to be the bearer of bad news. I just don't think he has it.
I don't think so either. I think this was the most that was underneath him here today, but still, that's admirable. Second place in the pro class, the best of the best here in the PCA Sim Racing Series presented by Hagerty is something to be proud of. Jason Lisner, who blinks a little bit, please hold together, modem, and he blinks again here at the final stages. Is the 92 going to be able to actually see the checkered flag, or is he going to suddenly disappear into the ether? The checkered flag waves from Barney. The 92 holds station, and he will win in the Pro Series in the PCA Sim Racing Series. Leif Peterson second, Sang in the third. All of them separated only by 2.6 seconds.
And there you saw that Chris Walsh able to hold out over James Huth. We jump back here for this battle for P9. This is Craig Stifle and Tack as they try to go through Luffield for the last time. That looks like a little bit of an attack from Stifle. Is he going to be able to do anything? Coming in And no, it doesn't look like it. It's going to stay the way it is.
And behind them, Talkie's still got his hands full. So does Campbell. Rose is making him sweat. We ride on board with Robert. But it looks like he is not going to have enough of an exit. And somebody's ran out of fuel. Is that
It was
Sinclair?
Craig. It was Craig, Joe, I believe. It was stumbling a little bit, and Stifel was actually able to get him at the line. We cut away just a half a second too early.
And Sinclair has as well, I think. Yeah, the 212 is coasting and will barely get across the line, but is slipping farther and farther backwards. Oh, goodness. So drivers at the back did not have the best time, but 28 of them still finished on the lead lap. Actually, is Sinclair going to be able to cross? If we put the cameras on Sinclair, he's going at about 7 miles an hour, and I think he's got about 10 feet to go. Come on, get across. There it is. Sinclair winds up P27 in the end. Okay, poor Jason, or poor Joe, rather, getting embarrassed there at the end as we take off for the results. And it is Jason Lisner, not poor Jason, here today. Victory from the pole, but only by 9/10 of a second. Peterson's going to be hounding him out there today. Justin Sang was third as Chris Walsh up to fourth, up one position from where he started. Huth, same deal from sixth to fifth. Jacob Schum was P6 as Braun was P7. Then our first real big gainer from 14th to 8th for Dyer, and Stiffel was in 9th. Craig wound up in 10th, just enough fuel.
James Patak was 11th, followed by Greg Carr and Chris Pies. After that hardware failure, ended up in 13th. Julian Velez had a good race out there to come home 14th, followed by Robbie Campbell and Robert Rose, with Jean-Paul Leno in 17th and Greg Fullwood in 18th. Gabriel Albano was in 19th, and Dewey Kang rounds out your top 20.
As we get to 21st, that was Rick Reinsberg, and then, David Schwartz. Rick Reinsberg was 22nd. Kukes was P23. Then Sadal in 24th. Grant Talkie going backwards and finishing 25th. Charles Yao was 26th today. Joe Sinclair coasting across the line in 27th. Waltman, the last one, on the lead lap in 28th. Mighty impressive. Fonseca, Kostanek, and Rudzidis were the last of the field, with Liam being a DNF. We've got our second place finisher, Leif Peterson, ready to talk to. And it's been a minute since I've gotten to talk to Leif, but I'm glad to get to talk to you again. P2, how are you feeling about that? You were so close to Jason. Is this a feeling of accomplishment or disappointment that it wasn't a win?
Oh, definitely accomplishment. It was a fantastic race. Jason and I had done a practice race together, and I had track position, so I was able to keep him behind me. But this race, I knew if he just stayed on his game, there was no touching him. He had obviously gotten faster since practice, and I was just happy to be in his draft. I think he was defending a little bit, but I could barely hang on to him. So honestly, congrats to him.
Now, what made the difference in the pit stops, or have you even had a chance to go and try and figure that out yourself? Because you had started to drop off, and then you came out and suddenly looked and you're half a second behind him again.
Yeah, I don't know. I went in a little early and took what I thought was the right fuel, and it turned out to be perfect. And I guess he just took a little more fuel than me. So that's all I can think of.
Well, this round at Silverstone, it looked like it was kind of tough for people to pass. We didn't see a whole lot of overtakes out there, especially up at the front of the field. But we're heading to Barber, which is even worse for those sorts of situations. Do you think you can maybe do one better in the qualifying and get the pole away from Jason next round?
I think you need to watch out for Chris Pies. He's driven there several times in real life. So he's going to be the one to watch. But yeah, I'll do my best. I was surprised at the outcome and my pace. But we had done a lot of practice this week, a lot of EDEs, a lot of one-on-ones. So, yeah, it paid off.
So Chris is the one with the target on his back, it sounds like, already. Anybody that you want to give a shout-out to that helped make this podium possible?
Yeah, my teammates on my race team, Racer Motors LLC, Billy Smith and Jim Stewart. The PCA admins, Doug, all the DE instructors, all the students that come out every week and listen to our instruction and and get faster. I mean, look at all the new names out here. Justin, just incredible guy, incredible pace. But yeah, just the whole organization is just top notch.
That was Leif Peterson, who finished second today. And I think up next, DJ has caught up with our third place finisher, Justin Sang.
Well, Justin, we didn't get to feature a lot on the broadcast because you looked like you were running a little bit of a race on your own there, but good pace behind Leif and Jason. It's got to be a good result for you here and feel pretty good.
Yeah, I think they are a little bit quicker, struggle a little bit on the slow corners. So once I make a mistake, can't stay with them without the draft. So kind of by myself at that point.
Well, as we turn our sights to Barber and for the rest of the season, Justin, are you focused on getting wins here, or are you focused on the championship as a whole? How are you thinking about this season?
Just one race at a time. I mean, of course you try to win, but I'm not gonna just force it in there to pass somebody. Yeah, I see how I could do. Just one race at a time.
Well, I say one race at a time is a good way to do it. Anybody you'd like to thank for this podium position here today?
My girlfriend let me play this game all day long. And my friends giving me crap for playing that much. Basically, that's it.
Well, Justin, congratulations again on this third place here today. It is well deserved. Joe?
Yep, that was third place finisher Justin Sang. It looks like we might have to take off, though. Jason Lisner not joining us quite yet, so we're going to give some thank yous before we take off. Of course, starting off with our sponsors. We'll see you next time at Barber Motorsports Park for round 2. It all kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, October 6th, live here on Podium Esports. Thank you so much to our title sponsor, Hagerty, as well as the series sponsors, Michelin and Porsche. A big thank you to Doug Atkinson, Jim Hemmig, and to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing. Also, a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ Taylor, Rachel, Ryan, Eric, and Dougie. And none of this is possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, James Pike, Gary Sexton, Cisco Scaramuza, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing presented by Hagerty. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.
Hagerty is the world's largest provider of specialty insurance for enthusiast vehicles and supports keeping car culture alive through youth programs, the Historic Vehicle Association, the RPM Foundation, and more. Hagerty is home to key programs such as the Hagerty Drivers Club, Hagerty Drive Share, Hagerty Valuation Tools, the Hagerty Drivers Club magazine, and much more. For more information, visit their website at hagerty.com. PCA Sim Racing is proud to have Hagerty Motorsports as its 2021 title sponsor.